discretion is advised.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the New to Wrestling podcast. Sort of. First and foremost, I'd like to apologize for Kelsey and I's kind of impromptu hiatus. For those of you who don't know, we both work in small businesses, and this time of year, the holiday season, is the bread and butter for those operations. So, unfortunately, life comes at us fast and loose, and we had to make adjustments just because of how much work there is to do and how few hands there are in small businesses. So, first and foremost, support your local small businesses. If you haven't this past weekend, Small Business Saturday, all that jazz. But but first, I just wanted to make an apology. It wasn't an announced thing, wasn't something that was planned. We just needed to take a second for our collective sanity so that we could continue to come back and do some fun stuff. But I wanted to come back and just do something that I had also promised a while ago, and that is the Wrestling Book Club, Reading the Ring. If you pay attention to our socials, you may already know, but if you don't worry, it's been a long time, that I had announced that I wanted to cover Do A Powerbomb by Daniel Warren Johnson. It's a fantastic graphic novel. It got 7 issues. Um, and this was actually suggested to me by an ex who is a comic book artist himself, and is a big fan of Daniel Warren Johnson, and suggested it to me, knowing that I am a huge wrestling nerd. And it's fantastic. I love it. I loved it from the start. It really just pulls at the heartstrings from the rip, and just takes you on this like otherworldly adventure. I love it. I think it's great. I'm going to read the synopsis for you, just so you can kind of get kind of a feel for what we're going to get into, and then we'll go over just what happens in the story. So, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. This is a book club. If you haven't read the book, go get it. Stop right now. Pause it. Do what you got to do. Come back and check it out, and we can talk about it. So. Quickly, the synopsis. Lona Steelrose wants to be a pro wrestler, but she is living under the shadow of her mother, the best to ever do it. Everything changes when a wrestling obsessed necromancer asks her to join the grandest pro wrestling tournament of all time, which is also the most dangerous. It's The Wrestler meets Dragon Ball Z in a tale where the competitors get more than they ever bargained for. So good. So before we get too into the plot of it all, there is a note in the beginning of the graphic novel from the author, basically explaining how he got into wrestling, which is fantastic because this is, after all, the New to Wrestling podcast. So he says the year is 2018. He recently had a child, so he's up at all hours of the evening. And he came across the New Japan Pro Wrestling G1 Climax tournament, which is, a months long tournament that happens in Japan. And, if you are familiar with New Japan itself, or even AEW, lots of competitors from all over the world go to compete specifically in that tournament, to be featured and to really get their name out there. So he, in his sleepless wonder of of being a new father, fell into wrestling and was inspired to create this story. We're introduced to some of the characters. So we have Yua Steelrose, which is the mother of the protagonist, Lona, the best to ever do it. She is a world champion. Fantastic stuff. We meet Cobra Sun, who is the initial opponent for Yua. And then we also have Uncle Blood, who is Yua's brother, also a wrestler himself and a trainer. And then we have Lona, our protagonist. You'll see. Someone who deals with a lot of trauma, someone who is very stubborn and does not doubt her. I mean, she has moments where she doubts her abilities, but does not doubt her heart. And that's something that it just sticks to you. There's just something about that I personally really resonate with. Um, I hate being told no. I hate being told I can't do something. I really genuinely take it as a, oh, really? Some way, somehow, I'm gonna figure it out. And she's very in that same vein. So she's a character that I relate to. Um, we meet Jacob, which is Lona's father, and then we have Willard Necrotin. I might be butchering these names. I apologize, but he's the necromancer, the strings behind this otherworldly tournament. Um, Settings, I'm not sure. I mean, it takes place in Japan, like that's where the story starts. And then it gets taken to a planet called Valthar, and specifically the Baron Bastion, which is like this giant castle of the necromancer where he throws this otherworldly tournament where uh wrestlers from all over the universe come and wrestle to the death, essentially, for the right to bring somebody of their choosing back to life. So let's get into it. It opens with okay. It opens with this championship match between Lona Steelrose and Cobra Sun. We have this like tender moment with like a baby Lona, and she's just like, she's just enamored by it all. Her mother's a superhero to her. And that's when tragedy strikes. Unfortunately, as we all know in the world of professional wrestling, accidents do happen. And unfortunately, this evening, a very unfortunate incident happened where Cobra's son was trying to do a move off the top rope. His foot slips. Yua unfortunately lands on her neck in an awkward angle and unfortunately passes away. And that inspires young Lona to want to take after her mother's footsteps. She is so affected by what happens. It alters her relationship with her father. He has a very hard time looking at her. He has a very hard time communicating with her. And it creates this distance between them. And she is inspired to follow in her mother's footsteps. I mean, a very similar kind of thing would be kind of Robert Irwin and Steve Irwin. Like he is very much made his life's work his father's life's work, and that's something that she's trying to carry on the tradition. She has a love for wrestling that not even the death of her mother is something that can alter. So she's obviously very headstrong, obviously very motivated to do this. But that being the case, because of her history and who her mother was, unfortunately, she cannot find a trainer. No wrestlers want to touch her. They don't want to go anywhere near the incident. They basically kind of like move on as if it's forgotten. She even appeals to her uncle Blood, who is a trainer, and he lets her know that she he had made certain promises to her father about not training her to keep her safe. And of course, this uh, creates even more a further drift between Lona and her father. And then that's when she's leaving after a match, and the necromancer Willard Necrotin just rolls up on her and essentially offers her this opportunity of a lifetime to participate in the Death Life Tag Team Tournament. The winner brings somebody of their choice back to life. The gag of it all is that the necromancer does not realize that wrestling on Earth is stage. It's predetermined. He doesn't, that's not a thought in his mind because he only takes it in through the television. So he just kind of assumes that what is being presented is truth. He really he takes kayfabe as real. That everything he sees is truth. So he offers her a shot at this tournament. It is a tag team tournament. She says She's like, nobody will even touch me. Nobody wants to tag with me. And he goes, I kind of have an idea of somebody who might. And that brings her to Cobra's son, who is still wrestling, just really beat down. He finds himself in death matches, just really kind of not the wrestler he was. He's just kind of doing it to survive, it feels like. Um, and she, we realize very quickly that Cobra's son is Jacob, Lona's father, which is so now when we have this moment where we like think back to the beginning, they have this accident. It is literally a husband accidentally killing his wife in the ring in front of their child, which is just, could you even imagine? Could you even fathom what that would do to a person and a family? So basically, uh, Lona kind of like talks Cobra Sun into it. She does not know. Obviously, he wears a mask. He's a luchador. He's a uh, Canadian Japanese luchador, which is quite a combo. But he's a masked wrestler. So she doesn't realize it just yet. Um, so he feels guilty, obviously, and she wants her mother back. He wants his wife back, so he eventually agrees to team with her. My assumption is in the interest of keeping her safe. So then we get transported to the planet of Valthar and the Baron Bastion, where this tournament is going to be like taking place. There's 8 teams, and then it kind of just takes us through their participation in the tournament. So we find out their tag team name is going to be Sun and Steel. Love it. Very catchy. And then we meet these other tag teams who they will be facing. First, it's going to be Sun and Steel versus Orangabang, which I think is a fantastic name. You're not going to convince me otherwise. I love that. Orangabang. Please. It sounds like Bangarang, that like Skrillex song, but I digress. Um, in that match, we really see that Cobra is trying to protect Lona. He does not want to tag her in through all of it. Uh, until he is basically forced to because his body will not allow him to continue. She kind of gets the hot tag, um, does her thing, finishes the match with a moonsault. Um, and throughout this entire, like each of these teams that we will come across, we learn who they're fighting for. So there is always a level of, for lack of a better word, because a lot of them aren't human, there is like a humanity to each of these teams. So you see that it's a little bit different in terms of like wrestling, where sometimes the villain doesn't always have a point. I tend to think that the best villains, you can always kind of see their point of view, whether that's in wrestling, whether that's in movies, um, where it's like they have an idea that seems uh righteous, at least to them. But it doesn't always kind of register that way through their actions or the means and how they do things. So um so Lona picks up the victory, and basically from that point they're like, hey, like we have to be a team. Like this isn't going to work. We're going to get hurt and die, and then all of this will be for naught. So they finally like train together. They work on some tandem moves. Love to see it. So then our next contest is going to be Sun and Steel versus the Knights of Rhine. As you said, it's very King Arthur-esque. Um, Lona starts this match. She is getting her shit absolutely rocked. The um the Knights of Rhine even like do their finisher on Lona, which is they call it the King Arthur's table. It's the Shatter Machine, FTR's finisher. So they like barely survive this rap. Next we find who's going to be on like the other side of the bracket, and it is a team called Puro Pack. And in that team, we find out that one of the members is Uncle Blood, who is also there. Also, this Puro Pack team very much given like Scorpion and Sub-Zero vibes, just based on the fits, not based on anything else, obviously, but the fits alone, Mortal Kombat. Um, but we find out that it's Uncle Blood, and he was also invited by the necromancer for an opportunity to try and get U.S. Steel Rose back, which is wild because now there are like three participants all trying to get the same person back. Um, to me, it seems like the necromancer must have been a fan of you, a big fan, if he's allowing kind of like this to happen. Um, so they lose to the opposing team like via submission, and then the opposing team after the match breaks Uncle Blood's neck, which puts him in a hospital bed. And they're obviously very upset. They're like, this happened after the bell. Like, how is his team going to be allowed to continue? And because they're so upset and they want to get their kind of like lick of vengeance back, they propose that the next match between Sun and Steel and FISO, which is the opposing team, uh, they is going to be a death match. They raise the stakes. We want weapons. We want it all. They said, "You're gonna put my family in the hospital. We're coming for your neck." And I love to see it. Obviously, Lona has some trepidation. She's never been in a match like that. Her father gives her this advice um, of she asks like, is this gonna hurt? Like, this is gonna hurt, isn't it? And he's like, yes, like you just going to have to learn to separate yourself from the pain, put it somewhere else, and just move on, because there's no other way to get through it. um so in this match, uh Lona finds out that Cobra's son is her father. He gets unmasked. She finds out who it is. And through the distraction, they end up losing the match. And we're like, oh shit, like what are we gonna do now? Like how the I thought it was over. Um, and then it immediately takes us into a flashback of Cobra, Jacob meeting Ewa and them like finding each other, falling in love. Um, so we find out in a another flashback kind of sequence that FISO, the two members, each have somebody that they would like to bring back, different people. So they decided amongst themselves that if they had continued um, the if they had won the match, that they would then fight each other to find out who they were going to bring back. Unfortunately, things go too far, and both members of that team die, and the necromancer is forced to then crown Sun and Steel, being the runner up of the tournament, the winners of the tournament. So we we're like, okay, cool, cool, all right, I'll take it. A win is a win is a win is a win in wrestling. So um, then the necromancer kind of pulls the wool over their eyes and is basically like, oh, actually, don't have that much juice to like just be bringing back people this year. Um, Part of the exile deal. Like, I'm stuck in this other world. I've been kind of doing this tournament for a few years, and now I just don't have the juice to do it. He goes, but I know somebody who would be able to do that for you, no problem. And that person is willing to face you both in a 2-on-1 handicap match. So it's going to be Sun and Steel versus God. Crazy. God, the big man himself, the big G, like insane. They go, okay. Um, so basically, they put on this valiant effort against God. It's God. God's not losing. God's eventually going to dunk on him, dunk on us all, I'm sure, if you believe in such a thing. But the team of Sun and Steel somehow managed to, at the very least, get a licking, get put a hurting on God in a way that he, at the very least, respects their effort. So even though they lose the match and he's not going to bring Yua back, he does offer them a memory that has kind of been uh, cut off. So uh, which is just absolutely wild. So it allows Lona to kind of gather this like piece of closure because it's a memory that was kind of unfinished, and we kind of get like a cutaway scene. Hold on, I'll get into. It's a scene where basically Lona is asking her mother about death and what happens after. Um, so I'm just gonna read this like little passage. Again, spoilers. If you've been listening this far and you haven't been spoiled, I don't know what to tell you. It's book club. Book club. So so basically she explains to Lona that the afterlife is basically kind of like wrestling. A lot of people think wrestling is about the outcome, the ending, predetermined, why bother watching? But we all know where we're going in the end. Eventually, we die. Our outcome is always known. I guess what I'm saying is, I don't think it's about the end, Lona. It's about the story. And everyone's story is worth telling, no matter how it starts, no matter how it ends. And that was just a gut punch. Such a gut punch. And then we get this kind of like wide shot of Yua watching her daughter and husband in the match against God. And she's obviously just overwhelmed with pride. Um, but this was just a fantastic, fantastic graphic novel. It's quick, it's beautifully done. I'll show you just a couple pages for those of you who are watching just the video. It does such a fantastic job of just making wrestling look so good in graphic novel form. It sets up each move so well. It pulls moves that we all know and love. And it just everything looks so fantastic. I'm obsessed with the way that this the colors, the art style. I cannot get enough of it. So definitely something I recommend. Do a power bomb. If you haven't checked it out, you def 100% should. It's quick, it's not expensive, it's 100% something that you all should read if you are a wrestling fan. Even if you're not super into kind of like graphic novels, it goes quick and there's enough wrestling to really kind of like pull you along the story, even if it's not something that you would have initially gone for, like as far as fantasy or that sort of deal goes. But I loved it. I cannot speak highly enough about this graphic novel, and I hope that there's more coming, more in this universe, something. I absolutely, I eat this up. So thank you guys for spending a little time with me. Again, I apologize for an impromptu hiatus. Some things are just kind of out of our hands, but we'll be coming back shortly. More 90s wrestlings. We're in 1998 where we're barreling in the Attitude Era. It's a good time. It's getting wild. It's about to get weird for those of you who have seen before. I'm Xavier. Thank you for watching, listening, commenting, all of those great things. Stay tuned to our socials and to W Podcast on Instagram, or New to Wrestling Podcast, one word. Either one, you can find us pretty much anywhere. And look out for what's going to be the next book. All right. Thank you guys so much. I'll catch you on the next one.